All week long, Paul Ryan and House Republican leaders have been promising that there is absolutely no way that they're going to delay a vote to repeal Obamacare set for Thursday, and have been expressing an unusual amount of confidence all week that while they didn't have the votes yet, they were going to get there. Don't you worry. I'm Ryan Grimm, Washington Bureau Chief for the Huffington Post, reporting here for the Young Turks, and a very foreseeable catastrophe for the repeal effort just unfolded here in the United States Capitol. Paul Ryan canceled his morning press conference because he didn't want to share the bad news that he had so far. Rescheduled it for 3:30 this afternoon. Just ahead of that press conference, he canceled that one. Shortly thereafter, Republican aides began telling us reporters that there would be no vote after all on repealing Obamacare today. Nobody told the president, however, who went out, he's at an event with the truck lobby and delivered some prepared remarks saying, we're going to get these votes. I'm feeling really good. This thing's going to be fine today. I can't stay long because I've got to go round up the rest of the votes. I'm sure he was in for quite a rude surprise when he stepped away and was told, oh, by the way, Paul Ryan just pulled the bill because it didn't have a vote. Now, we talked about this very thing yesterday, and actually Eric made me put a prediction out there, and I think I said they're going to pull this vote, right? So the reason we could see this coming is that the politics just are not there to get this all the way through. In other words, every time you move this bill to the right to satisfy what's known as the House Freedom Caucus, which is 37 extreme right members, then you lose the more moderate House Republicans. And while you may think that there aren't any moderate House Republicans left, Democrats are so bad at winning elections that there are still 50 plus Republicans who are in swing districts. These are districts that could easily be won by a Democrat under the right conditions, yet Republicans hold on to them. In more than half a dozen or so, Clinton actually beat Trump. So you have a place that went on the presidential level for a Democrat, and on the congressional level it went for a Republican. So you have this kind of this push and pull going on, where as you move the bill to the right, you lose the people on the left. As you move it back to the left, you move the people on the right. And they're talking about voting again tomorrow. If they do, I don't see how the dynamic changes. Here's what the far right had demanded. They said, we want essential health benefits removed from Obamacare. In other words, Obamacare requires that all health plans cover things like maternity care, mental health, hospitalization, ambulatory care, rehab, the basic kinds of things that you would want if you had an insurance plan. The far right said, take that stuff out, help it drive down premiums, and then we'll support it. So President Trump gave them this, and they still didn't support it. This is the guy who claims to be the greatest deal maker on the planet. So he gave them what they wanted. They still didn't come around to support it. And by giving him this concession, he lost a bunch of moderates all day long. This trickle of moderates who'd been opposed ticked up and became a stream of opposition before it became clear that you weren't going to win over the right no matter what you gave them. And every minute that was going by, you were losing more and more moderates. So the second problem that he has here is if he moves it to the right, strips out essential health care benefits, and gives the Freedom Caucus what they're saying they now want in order to support it, which is Title I of the bill. In Title I of the bill, it's the provision that lets you stay on your parents' health care until you're 26. It's the one that says that you can't be denied for pre-existing conditions. It's the one that says you can't get dropped for getting sick. And it's the one that says you can't cap lifetime or annual healthcare expenses, which is a thing that drove so many people into bankruptcy. So the Freedom Caucus wants that out now. Legally, that can't get through the Senate without 60 votes. Politically, it doesn't have 50 votes. I'd be surprised if that stuff actually even had 45 votes in the Senate. So they've now set themselves up in a position that in order to get it through the House, they have to make it so extreme that they lose the Senate, and they might not even be able to get it through the House.
Okay, I got three people who say what happens now, and also Brian Colburn is saying this would be the perfect time for actual progressive Dems to introduce and move for single-payer Medicare for all. What hurdles do you see in preventing them from doing that?
So what happens next is 8 o'clock. There's going to be a procedural vote. Well, 7 o'clock, the Republicans are going to all meet, figure out what the hell happened. 8 o'clock, they're going to have a procedural vote on a rule around this issue. That could drag out for a very long time. It's a way for House leaders to kind of corral people when they need to talk to members of Congress. They call a vote on some random thing to force them to come down and put their card into the machine and cast a vote so they can use the time to whip them. Then they're going to decide sometime tonight or early tomorrow morning whether or not they're going to have the vote on Friday, or if they're going to just delay it indefinitely. Now, I happen to think on the second point that I do think that there's an opportunity now for Democrats to go on the offense. I don't see much, if any, of that happening. I think right now Democrats are stepping back and enjoying watching Republicans kill themselves. One exception to that is Paul Starr writing in the American Prospect a piece today that said, here's the step Democrats should take next, and he called it midlife Medicare. It's a proposal that says, all right, we're not going to push for Medicare for all yet because we know we don't have the votes for that, but let's push for midlife Medicare, which means anybody who's between the ages of 50 and 64 can get into a system that's run by Medicare. And these are people who are often at vulnerable stages of their lives, yet they're not yet eligible for Medicare, and so they would very much appreciate this this sense of security. And if you remove the people who are 50 to 64 from the overall insurance pool, you then lower premiums for everybody else who's children are mostly covered by one way or another. Everybody who's, say, 18 to 49, because those people tend to be healthier and have lower healthcare costs, so that moving those older folks out of the market helps everybody. It helps them and it helps young people. I think it would be a terrific step forward if you could start to move that gap. So that would mean most people are covered up until the time they become an adult. Then you've got the period from, if you're on your parents' plan, from 26 to 49 to figure something out. It would be great if there's single payer for everybody in that gap, but the more that you can narrow it, the better.